All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. We have officially made it to the final. Yes, you heard me right. You heard me right. The final episode for Velma, episode 10. I still don't know, honestly. It's all a blur at the end of the day, how we managed to get here, and yet we are here. The only thing I want to say before I start this review is that I am actually extremely thankful for this TV series. No matter how much pain this TV series caused me, and I'm sure a lot of you heard it in my voice, and the reason why I have so much energy now is because I know that the show is finally ending, so I can be very happy to take solace in that. But the one thing I'm very happy for this TV series is because it brought a lot of you guys to the channel and allowed me to share a lot of things with you all. So I'm extremely appreciative of that. Now, with that being said, all I'm going to ask you to do, as always, is to just like this video and consider giving me a long view duration on it so we can continue to fight the YouTube algorithm as we move past Velma and go into future reviews, as well as my regular content news update videos. Now, with that being said, guys, let's get into the final review. Episode 10 for Velma. So as expected, this entire TV show has been completely lackluster from the first episode, and unfortunately, they decided to go the completely 100% predictable route with the ending of this TV series. And now, even with the ending of last episode, episode 9, it ended with the revelation that Velma's mother is a serial killer. That's something that a lot of people have seen coming a mile away, right? But we also knew that a lot of people were going to guess that Velma's mom being the serial killer was going to be a complete fake out. It was going to be something that was going to be offered before the final episode of the first season, and of course that's exactly what's happening. So Velma's mother is now the projected serial killer, and ironically so, she's not the actual one. The real serial killer is going to be revealed in this episode, so let's get into it. So the episode starts off with Velma's mother being locked up by the sheriff, of course, with the revelation that she is the serial killer, or at least she thinks she is, which Velma says that it's been revealed that she wasn't actually kidnapped by a serial killer because she is the serial killer. Velma ends up trending on social media with some pretty funny posts, I gotta say, when you learn your mom removes brains. Okay, I think it's cringy, but it's funny. You can see a little LOL here on the bottom. I'll give them that. But Velma starts to realize that it just doesn't make any sense what's going on. Check this out.
Produce journals. I couldn't understand why my mom would recreate the work of a mad scientist. I have to talk to her.
So Velma ends up realizing that she has to talk to her mother because she's not believing exactly what's going on. And since Velma's mom is now a serial killer, they try to poke fun at the idea that serial killers are essentially worshipped by certain groups of people, and they start to sell off Velma's mother's stuff, including the mystery van in the background. They mentioned that Velma's mom is one of the only female serial killers in America. Check this out.
Only female serial killers. You can own a piece of herstory.
And yet it's...
Yes, they called it herstory. Yes, again, this is like they're using this as a female empowering moment. Yes, this is exactly what they're doing. Being a female bad person is apparently very empowering. So then Velma realizes that it's getting worse. Norville, who still has a lot of hate towards Velma because of the last episode when he realized that Velma is just being toxic and using him, he decides to print a headliner that says Velma even crazier than her own mother, which Velma obviously is very hurt by, where she ends up apologizing to Norville for accusing him, his dad, of being the serial killer. Check this out.
I'm sorry I accused your dad of being the serial killer. Norval, that's enough. Velma needs us.
So again, Daphne ends up joining in because she has a thing for Velma, but it's funny how nobody seems to realize that Velma is completely using these people. Every chance Velma gets, Velma is the one that has to be top center priority, and if she's not, she basically makes everybody else feel bad for that. So this is the show's way of trying to convince people that being a female should have absolutely no consequences. It's weird to me, right? Because this entire show spends nothing but the majority of the show making fun of all the male characters in the show. They make Norville into a mega simp. They essentially cuck him in ways that are just ridiculous. They make Fred into a beta male. They turn him and they abuse him any which way they can throughout every single episode, from episodes 1 all the way to episode 10. And meanwhile, you have Velma over here, who is completely toxic, abuses every single one of her relationships that she's in, and she's just expected to be let go scot-free by Daphne. Like, oh, Velma needs us, so we need to help her. It's crazy. And ironically, even when Daphne is trying to defend Velma, Velma ends up getting pissed because she remembers that Daphne kissed Fred. Check this out.
Kissing Fred.
Daphne ends up doing some ninjutsu move on Velma and completely kicks her ass. And I think this picture right here I think this is gonna be the thumbnail. I'm almost positive. You guys will know when you're watching this video whether or not I use the thumbnail of this. It's pretty funny. So then we fast forward, and Velma's talking to the lesbian cops who are the mothers of the Daphne, trying to find a way that she can talk to her mother. But the sheriff will not allow her to talk to her mother unless she is actually arrested for a crime. They end up asking her what was the reason for her doing all of this, and she ends up saying something in a weird voice. Check this out.
I did it because I wanted to put the brain of a popular girl into the head of my daughter, Velma.
What?
So she says it in a way that, because she's kind of like tranced out, right? It's kind of weird. But she says that, and Velma can't believe that that's what it was. This is the excuse that they're coming up with in this show. It is terrible. And here's the funny thing. Obviously, Velma's mom is not the real serial killer, but the reason for the actual serial killer to do what they did is not too far off from what Velma's mother just said, which makes it honestly one of the worst possible endings that they could have come out with this show. It is so lackluster. It is uninteresting. I really, and you know what? I had my hopes set up from the crazy conspiracy theories that came out about this show, and like where we thought they were going to go with it, and how they might introduce Scooby-Doo and brain swap a human's brain into the dog. It could be Gigi, it could be not, but it was interesting stuff, even for a show that I absolutely can't stand. I thought it was going to be a way for me making this into a it's so bad that it's good kind of show, but no, this show is just bad. So they continue to try to find a way to convince the sheriff to let Velma talk to her mother. But again, the sheriff is not going to let her talk to her mother at all unless she is literally arrested for a crime. And the only crime he's willing to accept is if Velma was arrested for murder. Check this out.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's so worried about you talking to your mom. The only thing he'd arrest you for right now is murder.
Murder?
So I think that's pretty ridiculous. Like, the only way you'll let her talk to her mom is if you arrest her for murder. I don't know. It just doesn't seem... It doesn't seem to all kind of go together. Anyway, so fast forward, Daphne is going with Fred's mom. Now, Fred's mom in the last episode offered Daphne a position as an intern at her company, where she makes a couple of jokes about politicians. Check this out.
Ascot shop into the multi-billion-dollar target of child labor lawsuits it is today. And I did it all by
Moxie.
aggressively supporting politicians who look the other way.
So she essentially takes credit for building the multi-billion-dollar corporation that she runs with Fred's dad. Now, the funny thing is, Fred's dad is the one that started it, and she joined after being married. But of course, because she's a woman, she has to be the one to take credit for everything. Fred's mom gives Daphne a little bit of a taste of what the perfume is like. Then they end up talking about the internship.
Point of your internship.
You mean I'm not just a diversity hire for the company photo shoot?
I'm glad they say that, and they are aware of exactly what goes on for certain companies. So I do appreciate the diversity hire joke, even though I know they're being sarcastic with it, and they're trying to like own the fans by saying something like that. I'm glad that you at least know, Mindy Kaling, that there's a lot of diversity hires in your field of work, and I'm sure you're probably one of them. So Fred's mom ends up talking to Daphne about how she was able to make Fred popular again and how she appreciates it, but that she plans to have Fred run the company one day. Check this out.
If Fred has any hope of running this company one day, I need your help teaching him that same kind of strategic thinking and drive.
So I'd have to spend more time with Fred. I have to sort out some personal...
So again, in Fred's mother's eyes, the only way they can have any sort of ambition and drive is if they're female, and she needs Daphne to teach Fred how to have some ambition and drive, because again, Fred is just basically the joke of this entire series. Fred is literally probably the most assassinated character in this TV show. So Norville ends up calling Velma, which she decides to want to ignore. As always, Norville texting her that they need to talk, she says later. And then Fred ends up raging out in the garage because of what they said about the family business. Check this out.
Fred, why are you raging out? Can I assume sports?
No, Velma,
Just so you know, that's a pun on a white people joke. Again, it's another white person joke, how white people go crazy over sports.
I'm raging out because my mom doesn't think I'm capable of running the family business. But she's wrong. Look how good I paint the company logo.
So this is when they tried to tie in more stuff to the original Scooby-Doo, where that logo is essentially the logo for Fred's company. Velma thinks it's an asterisk, but it's actually a flower. And you guys know exactly where I'm going with this, because the original Mystery Machine has a bunch of flowers on it, and Fred actually showcased it, that he painted it on the machine that he bought from the serial killer auction. So this is the beginning of the Mystery Machine and how it's actually been formed. Check this out.
So maybe if I drive this thing around, I can make Gentleman's Accessories cool and prove to my mom I'm not a joke.
Because nothing's trashier or more pedo-tinged than teens in an old van. That's actually not a bad idea.
So I'm glad that they're making all these jokes that are pretty spot on with the current state of Hollywood, you know what I mean? So I think that's pretty ironic. So Fred ends up getting mad at Velma because he doesn't realize that she's actually complimenting him, and once he realizes it, he calms down and says that he's sensitive from always being wrong about everything. Again, do you think that's Fred talking, or do you think that's a feminist writer talking? I would guarantee you it's the second one. It's 100% a feminist writer talking through Fred about how men are wrong about everything. I cannot imagine what it must be like to live in the shoes of an angry feminist. I just really can't. Then Velma ends up going to the police station, and this happens.
Officers, arrest me. I've committed the only crime worse than eating ethnic food on an airplane.
Don't care until your mom is removed from our custody and goes to death row. Your presence here is like a condom in a porno. Not wanted.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's one of those. Now here we're going to have a typical racism joke where if a white person complains to a cop, they'll literally arrest the person for anything. This is what they're trying to say by this line. Check it out.
Someone like me said someone like her was bothering him?
Well, yeah, that would do it.
Again, I mean, like, seriously, we're going with these tropes because it's easy. This is what these people really think. This is how they believe. It should be true when it comes to police and everything like that. It's just really sad. Now we get a scene with Daphne and Norval, which I think is probably one of the best scenes, where Norval finally says what everyone's been thinking, but for some reason he's been unable to say it for 10 episodes. Check this out.
Velma, she wasn't at the pep rally, and you know how much she loves knocking over cheerleader pyramids.
Sorry, Daph, but I'm just too tired of Velma's bullshit to care where she is.
Finally! I mean, God, it's been so long. I've been wanting to hear him say that. Honestly, like, if there was anything I wanted in this TV show, aside from Gigi becoming Scooby-Doo, is to hear Norval curse out Velma. Like, I think that's honestly, that made me finally very happy to see Norval grow some fucking balls and just curse out Velma and just admit that he's tired of her BS. So Daphne ends up going inside her locker and realizing that there's a geode inside her locker and is a note. And it's from her actual biological mother, who gives her a hypnosis watch, ironically. And this is where it gets really interesting, and I promise I had nothing to do with this. So Velma ends up going to talk to her mother, and when she goes to talk to her mother, she realizes that her mom just continues to speak in a very strange tone whenever she's asked about the serial killer. Watch this.
Velma, I did it because I wanted to put the brain of a popular girl into the head of my daughter, Velma.
Oh.
Again, so that just seems like how she is, she's basically repeating something as if she's hypnotized. This is going to be a recurring theme. And like I said, I promise I had nothing to do with this. Watch this again.
But why?
No, Velma, listen to me. I did it because I wanted to put the brain of a popular girl into the head of my daughter, Velma.
Yeah, Mom.
So every time she goes to try to explain what really happened, the like weird state takes over and repeats the same sentence. Again, this starts to make Velma realize that her mother is actually seemingly kind of like stuck in some sort of trance. And watch what she says.
I was hypnotized.
Hypnotized? I thought that only worked in 70s cartoons and 80s comedy clubs. Wait, but the cure is always snapping.
Sorry,
So they're thinking that Velma's mother has been hypnotized, and that's where the whole hypnosis watch that Daphne has is going to play into effect. The sheriff ends up coming and taking Velma out because he wants to send her mom to death row, and Velma ends up getting stuck in prison while her mother's being driven away by the sheriff. A mysterious voice shows up at the gate, and it's of course Daphne, who has come to save Velma because her lesbian moms have given her the key in order to do so. Daphne ends up showing Velma the pocket watch, and then this happens.
A pocket watch? Wait, I remember that from somewhere.
And do you remember me?
Again, so she had another illusion and panic attack, whatever you want to call it, and we thought that those were over. So now that the fact that they're back again, there must be a reason why they are back again. And Velma ends up waking up in some sort of dream, and when she wakes up in the dream, she realizes that she's back at the mystery van, and she sees her former self getting hypnotized by somebody in the same serial killer outfit. Check this out.
Mom, my mystery solving caused this. No one will ever believe me because I'm a weirdo.
So the same way that her mother was hypnotized was also the same way Velma was hypnotized, and this is what's been causing her illusions every single time. It's because every time Velma wants to confront her past or starts to learn about it, the hypnosis takes over and stops her from doing so, and that's basically why she's been getting those panic attacks. Check this out.
I recognize it because he didn't just hypnotize my mom. He hypnotized me 2 years ago as well to cause my hallucinations and keep me from finding her.
So they go to check the watch, and then when they check the watch, she makes a whole semen joke because whatever. Apparently, that's a thing. When they open the watch, it shows the name of Harry Meeting, who was the general that was initially behind the Scooby Project. If you guys remember from a couple previous episodes past, he was the one that was hypnotizing people for the Scooby Project. Check this out.
To run his Project Scooby brain swapping program. And he was a master of hypnosis. But
I gotta admit, guys, this is some funny stuff, man, because the whole hypnosis thing, I think, is pretty hilarious that this is going to be a driving factor in this final episode, considering that, you know, obviously my name. So I think it's pretty funny. This is not a self-insert on me whatsoever. I promise you, I would never be in this fucking show, but I just think it's pretty hilarious. So now Velma wants to go see if she can jolt her mother's brains about what's going on with the serial killer. Daphne asks for forgiveness about kissing Fred, and then when they go to share a kiss scene, of course they get interrupted yet again, and this time it's by Fred on the phone. Check it out.
Hold up, I have to take this. Victoria! What? Fred was caught trying to lure teens into a van for trashy sex stuff?
So they make a white pedo joke, of course, the white boy being a pedophile. That's essentially the joke yet again. And then when we go back to this scene here, we realize that Daphne was actually lying. It wasn't Victoria calling, it was Fred. Check this out.
What do you mean you didn't send a car? Oh, God! Ugh. Fine, you sent a limo. Yes, I know the difference, you asshole.
Now, when we fast forward, we have the same way that the show started is exactly how it's going to end, with apparently underage girls in the shower. I mean, I don't really know what it is about this show. They should have just said it in college. Like, I think if they would have made this show in a college setting, it would have been more acceptable for how raunchy it is. But the fact is, these girls are literally like 15-year-old girls, and they're in a shower scene. I understand, obviously, it's all censored. I mean, not really, because you can see a ton of stuff behind these words. You might not be able to see it in video, but you could definitely see it in the actual show itself. But again, I don't know why they do this. And then Velma ends up coming in and trying to confront the brains in the shower herself and asks them if they recognize the pocket watch. Where Gigi wants to confront Velma about Norval because I guess it's the perfect time to do so. And she ends up saying this, and it's like kind of like a joke. Velma ends up making a joke about black girls' hair, I'm pretty sure. Check this out.
But you were given the best thing in the world, and every day you treated it like worthless garbage.
hair that's full of bounce and easy to style?
So again, that's a joke on black girl's hair. 100%. That is a joke on black girl's hair because she's trying to say that why, like, the best thing that she has in the world, the easiest thing in the world, is basically her hair and how easy it's bouncy it is because it flows and it's easy to style. Obviously, you know exactly where that joke is going. So that's a joke on black girl's hair, and I'm surprised they even made that joke, to be honest with you. Gigi ends up talking about Norval again and how Velma always ignored those voicemails, and then Velma ends up running away saying she doesn't have time for this, realizing that Norval ends up wanting to leave to another school because he can't stand being around Velma anymore because it hurts him too much. Velma ends up realizing that the dead girls were used to frame Velma, of which Velma decides to start listening to Norval's voicemails. Now, she listens to the voicemails from like days ago and all the way up to the most recent one and the latest one, the first one he ever gave. She listens nonstop and she ends up not only feeling bad, but she ends up realizing that she misses him. She's got the whole lovey-dovey eyes as she's listening to the random voicemails. Like, she's literally falling in love with Norval. Yes, Velma is falling in love with fucking Norval. Of course she is, because this is how it is, right? They're trying to basically showcase that the girl has given up Norval, right? She never had an interest in Norval. Norval finally moved on, and then when Norval finally moved on, that's when she wants to show interest. It's stupid. She realizes that Norval has recognized the fact of when she got new glasses, which is the glasses she wears right now, and the glasses that she wears is actually made from JGA, the company that's involved with Harry Meeting. She looks at the pocket watch and she notices that the emblem on the pocket watch is the same flower as Fred's parents' business. That's when the big revelation hits. And she realizes that her mother's innocent. She goes to go tell her dad and Sophie. Sophie, of course, is drunk because Sophie does the whole drunk mom trope. And then she realizes if she's right, that means Daphne and Fred are in trouble. So she hurries up and tries to infiltrate Fred's house. But she realizes that, again, she is in love with Norval. Check this out.
It was because he made me laugh. But it was because he made me feel cared for, the way a cool-ass boss bitch like myself deserves to be.
Again, that's Mindy Kaling talking to herself. You guys realize that, right? This is Mindy Kaling talking to herself and calling herself a bad bitch because, again, This is a self-insert, the likes of which we haven't seen in such a long time. So she goes down the same well that her mother went down, and of course she got attacked by the same bats that her mother got attacked. She ends up calling Norval because she thinks she's gonna die, so she wants to talk to Norval, and check this out.
Norval Rogers. And if this is Velma, don't forget, you're a piece of...
Norval, look, I know you hate me, but in case I die tonight, I just wanted to say you'll always be my best friend. That's it. Bye. Love you. Love you?
So again, she says she loves Norval. Like, I cannot believe they did this 180 because they want you to sympathize for Velma. And the thing is, I don't sympathize for Velma at all. She's a selfish narcissist, and Norval deserves way better than Velma. And I hope he stays away, but he probably will not, let's be real. Then she ends up getting attacked by the bats, and she falls down the well and says to do not donate her body to science. As she lands, she realizes that her phone is broken, and then she ends up looking into the journal of Dr. Perdue and finds the door in the Crystal Cove Caverns. And when she finds the door, she realizes Daphne and Fred are there. The serial killer notices that somebody's there, goes outside, doesn't find Velma. Velma already snuck inside and tries to rescue Daphne and Fred. Serial killer ends up finding Velma and trying to kill her, and when she is able to kind of escape a little bit, she sprays that little spray that Daphne gave her from Fred's mom, which ends up attracting the bats to attack the serial killer. So they tie up the serial killer in typical Scooby-Doo fashion, and they're asking Velma how does she put everything together. Check this out.
But why would the serial killer want Fred out of prison only to then take him at Fogfest?
Because the serial killer is...
Mother? Victoria Jones?
So yes, the big revelation is that the serial killer is indeed Fred's mom. Now, this is something we've all seen coming as well. We said that it was going to be Fred's parents. Me personally, I thought it was going to be two serial killers. I was wrong on that aspect. Kind of, sort of, because, I mean, Velma's mother kind of copped to being a serial killer, so in a way, it is too. But no, the actual serial killer is only Fred's mom. That is who the killer is for this entire TV series. Now, with that being said, there's not much more to go over other than this. This show, making Fred's mom the serial killer, is honestly the most pathetic fucking, like, ending I've ever seen. It is super lazy. Honestly, I think this is the easiest route they could have taken. It's not creative at all. And they end up saying the reason why Fred's mom wants to take out girls' brains is because she feels that she wanted to put the brain of a hot girl who are already oppressed women. Like, yes, she's saying that hot women are oppressed, okay? It's just so stupid. She ends up wanting to put the brain of a hot girl into Fred's mind because she wants Fred to take over the company, and she feels like they need to be a woman's brain in a male's body in order for it to happen. Check this out.
Wanted to replace your brain with that of someone more capable of one day running Jones Gentleman's Accessories.
Replace my brain?
So again, they make this whole joke about replacing the brain of Fred with someone more competent, and by someone more competent, they mean a female. They end up going into a little bit of backstory about Dr. Perdue and how she actually succeeded in brain swapping procedure, but because the general wanted to take credit for her life's work, Perdue actually ended up re-swapping the brains back and then terminating the entire lab, which they ended up locking her up in the insane asylum and tried to make her crack and talk and explain how to continue forward with Project Scooby. It actually never happened, and Project Scooby was shut down. After which the general ended up leaving, abandoning her Fred's mother, of which Veronica says that in order to save them from financial ruin, she married William Jones and then created the business that would create the pocket watch that would allow them to do the hypnosis like her father used, where she says she couldn't stand to see it undone by her stupid son, and decided to buy the house that they're in right now. But unfortunately, Velma's mother was the first to find Dr. Perdue's journals, not Fred's mom, after which Fred's mom ended up hypnotizing Velma's mother and forced her to rebuild the lab and continue the work of Project Scooby because she ended up being the only one to read Dr. Perdue's journals. So she turned her into the new Dr. Perdue, essentially, and restarted Project Scooby with the whole brain swapping thing. Then they end up asking, why did they pick the brain of a hot girl? Check this out.
Case closed.
Okay, but why pick the brain of a hot popular girl? We're literally the only murders people care about.
Because I wanted someone like me. An ambitious, status-conscious young woman who could appreciate what she might achieve as the male president of a global corporation.
Again, they're trying to say that women do not exceed in the corporate world, that only men do, and you cannot reach your maximum potential unless you are a man. It's a trope. It's an obvious feminist talking point. It's really stupid. And honestly, I'm so annoyed by it. Now, Fred's father ends up showing up, and he, of course, is hypnotized because she hypnotized everybody. And he shows up with a gun, and they end up having a little bit of a scuffle, after which Velma ends up getting strapped to a chair because she realizes, Veronica realizes that Velma's brain is actually the perfect brain for a handsome, rich white man, aka Fred, which Fred ends up saying this because obviously he's a feminist now.
Advantages? You think we like being president of the United States 97% of the time? That job sucks.
Again, like, they should just become white men, honestly. Like Mindy Kaling and everybody, all these feminists who just absolutely hate white men, they should just become white men. If it's so easy, if life is so easy, the moment you become a white dude, just become one. It's easy these days. You could transition into anything. So you might as well just be able to transition into a white dude. It'll make your life so much easier. You could stop fucking complaining all the time. Check this.
Hot popular girls your age don't yet realize just how much the deck is stacked against them.
But as Stumpy knows...
So apparently being a hot young girl has the deck stacked against you. Apparently you have a very difficult life if you are a hot young girl. Yeah, like this is so stupid. This show is so fucking stupid. I'm so glad it's over. Then Velma ends up trying to do some reverse psychology, but of course she means everything that she says. Everything that's about to be said right now is literally from the mouth of Mindy Kaling. I promise you. Listen to this fucking psychopath.
Exactly. I am so sick of rich guys like you, not only not realizing how much is handed to them, but still thinking they're the victims when they mess everything up because of their lazy entitlement and fragile egos.
So she used the opportunity to go on a major tirade about rich white men. Everything that was said in that line is exactly coming from Mindy Kaling. I swear to God. It was not written in the show by anybody else other than Mindy Kaling. She was the one that put that in there because she's feeling some sort of way, as she always does. Velma ends up saying that even though she meant what she said, she only said it to rile up Fred, of which Fred ends up thanking her for some odd reason. It's very strange. Fred ends up finding his mother, tracks her down, but then she ends up switching it up on Fred and convincing him that he should let go of the gun and give it to her. And of course, since Fred is a total cuck, he does it. Fred's mother says that she's about to shoot both girls, of which Daphne and Velma end up having their kiss finally. And then this happens.
I love you too, Norville.
What?
So they finally share a kiss, only for Velma to basically say that she loves Norville. Again, I cannot believe that they're going with this typical love triangle thing. It is so stupid, and they want you to feel sympathetic for Velma, and you really shouldn't. Norville ends up showing up with the rope, saying that he loves Velma too. That's crazy. Shows up with the sword. Fred's mom takes a shot at Norville, and he ends up chopping it up, stopping the bullet from doing anything. Bullet ends up ricocheting, and when it ricochets, it ends up hitting the spike that's above his mother, and then it ends up going splat, and she just explodes in front of everybody. Interesting way to end the reign of the serial killer. So after which, Velma and the friends all end up getting recognition for it. They end up getting keys to the city, all four of them. They all end up having drama amongst each other, so they end up fighting on the stage, which is pretty ridiculous. Velma and her mother end up sharing popcorn and watching a movie together after kicking out her father and Sophie and the baby. Norville ends up talking to his dad, tells him he should try marijuana in order for him to relax. So this is how Norville ends up getting into drugs. Daphne ends up doing more training and ends up getting a paper with a bloody symbol on it. Fred ends up going to his mother's grave. They end up naming it Fred Jones Spooky Stuff Hunter. That's what they named the van. And right when Velma says that the case is finally closed and that the sheriff's offer her a job as a detective, he totally would hire her if she was a man, and that's how it ends. That's how this entire episode ends. But now, of course, the sheriff ends up going to the file room in order to file away Velma's mother's file because now it's a closed case. And the moment he does, the lights shut off, and guess what? The serial killer is still active. The sheriff ends up getting killed, and that is how this episode ends. So guys, I was correct the entire time. I didn't say it at the beginning of the video because I wanted you guys to watch to the end, but yes, I was correct. There was 2 serial killers. They pulled a Scream in this TV series. I knew they were going to do it. Everything is fucking predictable in this show. This show, I swear, I wish they went crazy with it. But no, they did the typical 2 serial killer thing. Let's reveal the first one. Let's make season 2 about the second one. It was obviously coming. We all saw it a mile away, but I was right. There is 2 serial killers in this TV series. So with that being said, episode 10 gets a glorious 1 out of 10. I'm not even going to give it a 1.5 out of 10. It doesn't deserve that half a point because it went with the laziest ending that we all saw coming. It did typical more white trope jokes that we were all tired of. We literally spent 10 episodes watching this entire series, and every episode was dunking on white dudes. That's what this fucking TV series did. That's all this TV series accomplished, was dunking on white dudes. Minty Kaling, seriously, this show, I swear to God, if it wasn't for the amount of people that was brought to my channel because of this show, I would have just tortured. This is torture. This is torture, honestly. I am so glad that this fucking show is finally done, and I'm happy to have shared it all with you guys. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it, and thank you so much for watching this review series. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and go check out my other reviews as well as my other content, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.